This is Jim Rash, and I'm going to tell you right now, listen to the whole podcast. The whole part of the whole podcast.
Welcome to the Whole. I am Rob Sprance, and I am joined by Academy Award winner Jim Rash. Jim, you ever get tired of hearing that?
I'm going to say no. Could you imagine? I'm like, you know what? You're the last to ever say it, please. Thank you.
Okay. I would carry it around if I could.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Bros, because this film, which is going to be in theaters on September 30th, before we say anything else, I want to talk about how funny this movie is. It is so very, very funny. There are many scenes where it's tears in your eyes funny. And how did this come about for you? I know you're in everything from writing to acting, and you've been across the board on things. Like, how did this come to you?
This was this was a table read that came to me because in 2019 they did a table read for an early draft of Bros, and I don't know what the stage was draft-wise, but it felt like this was to hear it out loud for the first time. And so, every now and then I've done many, and many actors I'm sure have as well, where you're just doing basically a favor to come up and let them, and you'll read multiple characters. I happened to read Robert as well. Dot Marie Jones was there, who's in Bros, and she read Cherry along with many other roles. And this was that at this stage we weren't attached. We were just, I know the value of hearing your words out and realizing what's working, what's not. And that's what that was. And then just lucked out that it turned into an audition, I guess, which I wish all auditions were that, where you had nothing. I wasn't nervous. There was no stakes. I was like, this script's hilarious. That's my only responsibility is to show off what's on the page to best of my abilities. And so that's how I came into it. And then the pandemic hit, and so it took a long time to get to making it. But luckily, they didn't dump me during the pandemic.
Well, I will tell you this: you're great at it too, and
Thank you.
one of the things that I think it's an important film in a lot of ways too. There are tons of romantic comedies, and they happen constantly. And the film even makes a point to kind of point out the fact that the way that a lot of times that movies like these are approached are, they get straight actors to play gay people, and they don't. It shouldn't be an important film at this time in 2022, but yet it is. There's so much about that I think really needs to be spoken about, because there's an early on scene, and I won't ruin stuff, but it's very early on, where a film executive is trying to pitch it, but you can tell that it probably encompasses how Hollywood perceives certain films, and they're trying to make money. But now this one has Judd Apatow's involvement. Billy Eichner's incredibly funny, incredibly talented. Nicholas Stoller, who is, the romantic comedy legend with Sarah Marshall and all of these different films. So I think this is important that this film gets seen because of how funny it is, because when people are laughing, there's also messages in here that they're going to get at the same time.
Absolutely. I think that what, no particular order of importance, but one of the important things for me as a writer who appreciates, what goes into writing. Billy came from, clearly, along with Nick, but Billy specifically, obviously, because falls as a gay man, falls into an understanding of this community. But more importantly, he was writing what I imagine to be a personal. It's not him up on screen, but he definitely would acknowledge and knows that a lot of this comes from a very truth of him, of his experience with love, with being to worry if you're lovable or not, which is very universal, in the rom-com world, but in the world of humans, very identifiable. But I think what he was sharing with was a layer of him that when a writer's willing to be vulnerable with us and air stuff that might be scary to them. There's a speech in the middle, a monologue, if you will, that I was very jealous of, because it's very hard to get a monologue like that in a screenplay or on TV, especially because the executive will say, there's no way we're going to shoot that. It's too much, too many words. one shot, how much coverage, what can we cut to other than a reaction? Anyway, a long-winded way of saying that this movie is important for a host of reasons, and the second is that Billy made a decision that this cast would be completely LGBTQ plus representation in the principal stuff, including characters that identify, quote unquote, as being straight in the movie. And I think that right there starts to push the elevation or the evolution of what we very much need more of. This is not a special TV event. This needs to be a more of a norm. And that's not to mean that every story has to be everything for everybody. But when we get to a place where both TV and film have had a history of absolutely, evolving and seeing representation on the screen, but sometimes that's one character, a token character, But here we have a moment to show what happens when you put us all on screen, because you open up what really is a family and a story that's being told and understood when you see the ensemble version of it, if I will.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because it's, in a lot of ways, it's not really pushing it for any other romantic comedy. It just happens to be pushing it because of the way he's doing it. And I think that he, in a way, and again, I don't want to give away parts of the movie, but when he meets the parents, that represent the way that the parents are represented could almost be kind of Hollywood, and the fact that you have to, be cool, got to tone it down,
Yes.
like it kind of, I saw those parallels, and it does seem very, very personal from Billy. You can absolutely tell that it is. But in terms of going for it, the sex scenes are epically funny. Like,
yes.
That
just alone, I don't care how how you identify sexual orientation, doesn't matter. Sex can get sloppy. Sex is awkward. Sex is that first time, and movies have can tend to have a glamorized view of this. But what I love that they did in this movie, and it's not, and then maybe not the first, but man, they took it to a different place. Is and I like you will not give it away. I'll let people enjoy it. But I felt like it was such a hilarious way in for these two, for Luke McFarlane's character and for Billy Eichner's character, Aaron and Bobby, to basically do two things. One, have a hilarious sex scene, but also say so much about their characters, and they are trying to be the bro in this sex scene.
Right. That's a perfect way to put it. And what's a funny thing, a side note too, for all, for everyone in the media that gets the screener, it's digital now, so you get your names on the bottom of it. So I'm watching these huge sex scenes going on with my name across the bottom, like I've branded the
yes this is your personal sex scene.
I took some pictures for it. I'm like, that's just for me.
That's pretty hilarious. Yes, they did this for you.
Yeah, but it's important that they're in there too, because most romantic comedies don't go in. Maybe there's a moment, like you said, you see people looking in each other's eye. You don't get that pulled back view.
No, you don't get that you get the cutaway to the next morning, as Billy wisely has in the script as well. Just the comment of that. But yes, no, I think it was the perfect way for us to show, some lovemaking.
And at the end of the day, that's an interesting way to put what happened in that movie.
Well, yes, but like I said, yes, a good fun way. Yeah.
So now, your role as one of the members of the museum on the board. There's a museum that's specifically for LGBTQ community, and the whole concept of planning the museum is great too. But it's also a tool, I think, to educate as well.
Yes.
In there. So it's very well done in that regard, because it's also very, very funny. But at the same time, I, as a heterosexual, learned things that I wouldn't have known before. And it was a very creative way to work that into the film without ever making it seem like you're being educated. Like the debates, the discussions of all of these things really do go a long way.
It does, and it's not just as you point for yourself how you new things to you. It's going to be new for a lot because so often our as children we're not privy to a lot that history. It's been written by a probably just a straight white man, and it's not representative of all the and there's more to uncover. There's more icons, there's more people who've made big movements across the board for our history that probably don't get a light shown on them. So yes, it was a perfect device to allow the big theme, which is, and again, this is not giving anything away, but there are shots that allow us to really encapsulate the images that are within this museum, which are all those who came before us and fought so hard and did not have some of the freedoms to live their truth the way we do have today, albeit we have a ways to go. And then you have images of people celebrating and loving each other in a romantic comedy. It really helps to encapsulate what this is really about, is to celebrate and honor those in history who fought so hard to give us the things that we have today. And I think if this inspires, and I say it for myself, I learned along the way, and then it really makes you want to uncover, especially right now when we have in our own world, things rearing their heads again. Books being questioned, teachers being questioned. When can a child, and then again, the movie plays into this as well. So I hope people go for to know this is a really strong and hilarious rom-com, regardless of your feeling that you don't identify with these characters. You will. And you will laugh. And then at the same time, like you said, it opens a little dialogue in there. And I think any good movie should open up something for that post-discussion.
Yeah, for sure. And then, you that's why I right away wanted to open with how funny it was, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. And, you mentioned how things are starting to rear their head, and it is quite terrifying in a lot of ways. But if there's any silver lining, most of us have picked up a majority of our culture from entertainment, even more so than school, I would say. A lot of, especially myself, even as a kid, from, watching films and, watching comedies and all of these different things, that to me stuck more than lessons or a book or Call It a While or anything that happened, during the course of school. So, my hope is that films like this that are just funny and can get a message across without, ever even needing to discuss what it's about,
Yeah. Yeah, I think look, there's no doubt that pop culture, there's no doubt that seeing yourself on a screen in a story, in a book, on a movie is very impactful, especially when you're younger, but doesn't mean it's cut off it's our entire lives, and that's why we react and take journeys with characters. I do think that, for example, recently rewatched, speaking of television, Visible, out on television, which is a documentary and quite good if anyone wants to check it out, in the sense of showing exactly how TV has sort of navigated and slowly, and sometimes backwards and sometimes forward, approached inclusion on TV and the LGBTQ representation, and learning when straight actors were playing parts, and allowing young to see themselves and what it meant and beyond, to go into to diversity outside of that, within race and within body shapes. And so I think television and film are definitely evolving, and we're seeing more these days than ever before. But I'm hoping Bros is opening up taking that baton further, and we keep going forward.
Yeah, for sure. And you've, even before this film, you have carried that torch in a lot of different ways. Let's, Community, for example, the beloved character, the Dean, which, in that, the Dean with his outfits, and, there's always that question about the Dean, but it was done with so well from your part, and so funny, that the character is so adored, that I do think that even then that was kind of an early way to just, hey, this is just what it is. It doesn't need to be discussed. It's just funny, and that's who the dean is, and we all love him no matter what.
Exactly, and I think Dan wanted to play off that when we got to that point where the dean grapples with, feeling he's more than just gay. He's more, he's pansexual and then plays the politics of coming out. But he feels like, and that's for a lot of people. They the beauty of allowing someone to live their truth. They're the ones who know. And it's very quick that we want to put one person into a box, and they don't always fit into one box. They can fit into a couple of boxes, and for us to see them and know them and believe that they know themselves better than anybody else. And to respect that is kind of beauty. So I think Community had at its core, while it wasn't all about something like Bros is, it certainly was celebrating a mix of people from different walks of life. I mean, community college is a perfect example of young and old and diversity and inclusion across that. While it wasn't a show, as much as like say Glee and Ryan Murphy was doing, it was absolutely celebrating a family, and that's that I loved about it.
Yeah. Now, in terms of those outfits, did you get any say in them? Were they sprung on you? Did you know what was coming? 'Cause-
Oh, I learned of it at a table read, and I was all on board. So yeah, I am a happy to be dressed. So so strip me down and put something on me. That's fine.
What was your favorite one out of those?
There were so. I think just the. I have to say, I say favorite mainly because it was the fact that they put together sort of my outfit to go to the bank that day, my duality, deanality of whatever I say, duality of Dean or however I said it, followed by I had so much fun in the Halloween episode as Lady Gaga again. I'm proud to say I love a good fitted outfit, and that thing was fitted to a T, and I did not hate that.
Well, you're way in better shape than I am, so I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
So just one more thing while we're on that, we actually had Joel McHale on
Boo!
last
I'm
week.
sorry.
I'm
I had
sorry.
to say it.
We got through it. It was okay. We're
I
all
know. What? I'm surprised he had anything of value to say, but continue.
But I did ask him what I'd like to ask you too is that, the word has gotten out that Dan Harmon is actually shopping the film now, the Community movie, the 6 seasons in a movie. There actually is a movie in its seed. Have you heard this as well? Are you
Yes, of course. We are on a text chain and have been since the sadly our journey had ended, but we always knew there was a chance. And it feels real. I want to be cautiously optimistic, but I do know that everything you're saying is true. I do know that it's being shopped. I do know that the mind of Dan and I think Andrew Guest is spinning what that tale will be. But that's kind of where it ends. But I just love the idea it's out there.
Yeah, I have a feeling that the COVID table read might have sparked a lot of that passion again.
Oh, one that was just a gift. Certainly we were all that during the pandemic. Everyone was getting inventive in ways to like entertain us, and that was. I think you're probably right. The fact that Donald was there among all of us warmed everyone's heart on our side. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. And I touched on this in the beginning, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about you winning the Oscar for The Descendants. What a excellent screenplay, and that's not only the award you won a lot of them for it. And when I first saw that you wrote it was when you won. Like I wasn't that fully attached, and I go, "Oh my God, Jim Rash!" Jim Rash. I didn't realize it until then. And I know you have a Groundlings history and a writing history, but how did you get involved in that?
Well, that happened because my writing partner at the time, I mean, still, but we write I write separately as well. But in this particular instance, Nat Faxon and I, who were both in the Groundlings together, we had written what we ultimately luckily got to direct and make, which was The Way Way Back. But we had written that script actually long before The Descendants came our way, and we were struggled to get The Way Way Back made. But it did become a calling card. It happens, there's it's a terrible name in the sense that it sounds negative, but the blacklist of scripts that get unproduced, and we fell into the blacklist, and that got, I believe, at least noticed by Ad Hominem, which was the Alexander Payne and Jim Burke and Jim Taylor's production company. And anyway, they had optioned the book of Cowie Hart Hemming's The Descendants, and so we came in to pitch our take on it because we loved the book. And so we got the job, and we had never, adapted before. So it was really learned by doing, but the book is so beautiful, and the movie's quite faithful to it. So it was a beautiful map, and that's how we got involved.
Did you have is George Clooney even attached to it at that point, or you just?
No, this was so early in the process. Alexander wasn't even going to direct at this point. Alexander was busy with what would be, oh my God, I'm spacing, the Matt Damon movie, They're Shrunk. I'm blanking on the name. Oh my goodness. Downsized. Thank you. The weird pause for those listening was just someone in the room where I am cueing me. It wasn't me going, God, Jim really went to his head. But thank you. Downsized. Sorry, he was writing that at the time, and then that was put to this on the side because of I don't know, budgeting stuff. But so he really wanted to direct a movie, so he came aboard, and that's where the Clooney thing started, because I think Alexander set his mind on George Clooney, and luckily snagged that. And then the rest became history.
Because you really do, just like in Bros, like you do need a great star to get something through. And in the case, Billy's very well loved too. So having heavyweights behind anything really can help.
Yeah, it's beautiful to have in Bros. They can speak to the exact story, but I've been privy, because we've been talking about it, that I believe, Nick and Billy were working on Friends from college together, and Nick actually, I think, approached Billy with the nugget of an idea. I want to do a rom-com, and I'd love it to be a gay rom-com. And so Billy took that baton and obviously happily took that assignment. And then you have Judd Apatow and you have Nick and Judd as two strong allies helping Bros come to the screen.
Yeah, for sure. And so just back to that Oscar experience a little bit.
Yeah.
That had to be really surreal. Like the moment your name gets called, not only for the win, but for the nomination alone.
Yeah.
It must be, a lifelong dream come true.
It's hard to say lifelong dream, because then I would have had set that in my mind that was the ultimate goal. So I think it was more special in that I just, even when we were writing The Descendants, even when we visited set, just to watch a little bit when they were shooting on Kauai, and then, so at that point it was just already a win. And then you get into this situation where it's picking up steam, and also the fact that Independent Spirit Awards we had won, but I think Golden Globes Moneyball was the winner of adaptation that year, which is equally fantastic movie and fantastic script. So it was an unknown. You just sort of sat in your seat, and yes, you hear your name called. It is what you imagine. It's not just it's a physical out of body weirdness, because you're walking up there. And then, Alexander was going to take the helm, and because he really wanted to. Nat and I had talked at the Independent Spirit Awards when we won, so Alexander was going to lead, and because I think he also wanted to thank his mom, I think is what he said, because he maybe had forgotten her in Sideways. I don't remember. Some story. Anyway, so then we were up there, and, you have a clock, and it's ticking down. I thought, we're not going to really, we're not going to say anything. So then, of course, I just wanted to, flash my leg and
right. So and that high has to last for a while too, like does
no, it instantly died when I got off stage. I was like, that's it.
That's it, I'm out of here.
Wow. That's what I said as I came off the stage. Wah, wah.
So does that put extra pressure on like your next script? I know there's you wrote The Heart is something that's
Yeah,
in
the heart we've been
now.
trying to make. Yeah, I don't think there's. I mean, I don't know if there's pressure because I mean, like, the beauty and the difficulty of writing, at least for me, and I can only speak for me, obviously, but I love and well, actually, I think this might be a little universal. I've certainly seen people. There's a love hate with writing. You really love to do it. You love the end result. The process can be you can spend days breaking something and it breaks again and then breaks again. You put it back together. Dan Harmon used to talk about that all the time. He's a master at story circle, and when things break, it takes a little bit of time to put it back together. So I never think that from script to script is going to be another experience. So I don't think the pressure to like get back to that stage, Oscar wise, but like for example, The Heart you mentioned is a movie we wrote a long time ago, and it's just like the award maybe gets you in the door to talk, but you still movies are a difficult thing to get to the finish line, especially now. So or have always been. So I don't know. You just keep pushing.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. And once again, in terms of Bros, I really want everyone to go check it out. Jim, anything that you do, I'm all in, and I would hope that our audience is as well, because you're just a very, very unique and creative individual. So, thank you for all that you've given us so far, and we're very excited for what's coming.
Oh well, thank you. This was a thank you. I'm gonna keep that last part for my phone so I can just wake up every morning and listen to that.
Ringtone? Okay,
Yes.
no problem. I will make that the ringtone going
Yeah,
forward.
it's usually music, but that might get me up faster. Like Jim, you got this. Get up.
Or workout, just a workout.
Yeah, that. Oh my God. Yes, work out to that. Thank you. I'll work out to your words, but I appreciate it. It's so much fun.
Jim, thank you so much. I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope that next time we talk, it's not considered an important film. It should be the
Yes.
norm, as you mentioned. It should be the norm, and I wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that that's very clear. But see it because it's funny. September 30th, bros.